Okay, just a little something about rewiring your old controller harness to fit a new controller. I think it was in 1994 that they went over to these connectors that are all wired into the back of this. Well, the cable's down here. Into the back of this. They're all what they call Deutsch connectors, which is Deutsch is German for German, like sprechen Sie Deutsch. Anyhow, they're just different things. You have, this is a female side of the connector. The female connector has, male pins in it, and the male side has female pins or female receptacles, and they fit in their rubber grommets. When you insert these, you actually crimp them on the wire, put them in the back, and then there's some kind of locking. I don't know if that's the right one. I might have these mixed. Oh, sorry. You put the pin on the wire, pushes in through the back, snaps in place, and then you have a locking tab. And I'm not sure if that's the right locking tab, but the same idea here. Pin goes in onto the wire, and then it's locked into position there, and then this thing stabs in and snaps and helps log everything in place. And here we are, this side, and this one, they get locked in. That goes into that one. I hope you're tracking, but there are matching connectors, and you have to make sure you don't assemble. You can do like I did and put the male pin in the male connector, and then you find, oh, I got it wrong. That's why it fits so hard. The male pin goes into the female connector, the one that goes over top. They all have a rubber seal. It can fall off. You just slide it back on, and it's supposed to be a relatively watertight connection. I mean, the back of it, there's rubber. It's hard to see in there, but there is rubber. It seals around the pin. Now here the big question is, how do you get this pin crimped on to your wire? And there, this looks like, hey, obviously this is some kind of crimp, but that actually, those little tangs are not so much to crimp to the wire, but crimp to the insulation, just give it some structural strength. But you see there's a thicker portion just below the pin. And here's a different style of pin. This is what they call a solid pin, and this is a stamped pin. This one's got a solid barrel. That larger diameter is longer. You slide it onto the wire, then you put the whole assembly with the wire on it into this gizmo. You have to be very careful to make it just in the right depth. There is an adjustable stop on some of these, but I made some mistakes here, but you have to get it in the right depth, and then after you go, and it clamps. And it doesn't let, if I go halfway, it locks. You got to go all the way. That guarantees a full swage. But if you look here, it's like a multi-segment crimper. See, it comes in with 4 crimps. If you just use a pair of the type of crimpers you have for butt connectors and things, it's I don't have one here, but for regular set of wire cutters and crimpers, it'll crimp 2 sides. It's going to be really kind of oblong and flattened. It's less likely, it's going to be less secure than using that with 4 points of crimping. And also, it's not going to fit through these round holes and snap in nicely inside. So it snaps in nicely inside. For extra security, a locking thing goes pop right in. And then you've got a relatively watertight connection. So that is, if you want a real lesson on Deutsch connectors, there are a lot of YouTube videos. Some are more helpful than others, but this one just introduces you to the fact, this little short clip just lets you know that, yeah, there are connectors and you have to buy them. And sometimes it's cheaper. You say, I'm going to use them for another project. It's cheaper to buy a whole bag of 10 assemblies, because you feel really bad paying an exorbitant price for just one if you just need one. And you find out you screw up and use up some of the pins from one kit, you can rob them from the other kit. And that's what I did. I had to learn how to use this tool properly, because the first few I was messing up. Okay, that's it for now. This is it. This is a ratchet cramper for Deutsch closed barrel terminal solid contacts. The closed barrel, that is, you see the end? Is that, well, it's hard to see, but this one's actually made from sheet metal. It's more of a production mode. It's cheap, but if you're making, you want to get it right the first time all the time, you want one like This one's actually one piece. It's not got a split line in it. It's very hard to see with the cell phone camera, but that's all for now. Sorry for being long-winded. We'll look at something else in the boat now.